See if this thing is sounding. Let me turn it all the way down. Then I'm gonna turn it all the way up. I think it's a little too much when I'm hitting this table. Um, I said let me jump. I'm knocking myself out. It's kind of early in the morning for this live thing. But I said I was gonna jump on here for a second and thank everybody for jumping on last night. We've been saying that conversations are needed, and because we have so many people from so many different backgrounds, it's unbelievable. I don't know how this thing happened, but Leader for Christ, I'm gonna give y'all a couple of seconds to come in here, but we definitely have a lot of people that have not been going to traditional church in a long, long time, but clearly clearly somebody's been reading the Bible, and we're hearing more and more. Tell me if my microphone is too loud. We've been hearing more and more people talking about come out of Babylon, and we take that reverence to the passage in Revelation 14. The dreads and them been calling America Babylon and the world Babylon, and we do a lot of speculating and stuff as far as what that is. We know during the whole Protestant movement, there were individuals that felt that whole system and the whore and all of this other stuff was directly connected with the Catholic Church. But one thing that people have to understand, especially in light of me getting these slides and stuff together, and I said before I get into the whole of British Israelism, that I was going to talk. We can't get into British Israelism. We can't talk about these last days. We can't talk about religion. We can't talk about anything America without Christianity. And when we start talking about Christianity, the history of Christianity and racism, the history of America and slavery, I've been told y'all that I've been laying into, at least lunchtime at work, I've been laying into White Too Long. And in that book, he's saying so much stuff. A lot of people don't understand. Well, before I even get into that, shout out to Pastor Johnson, shout out to Mike Galloway. In the midst of us back and forth yesterday, I see Mr. Dante hit me, and he got a whole nother. I don't even know if I can get him on here. Maybe I'll try to get him on here. And he got a whole nother. He done laid into those pews from a whole different angle. Y'all hear me, Minister Dante, who's a leader in the Israelite community. He has a whole different, and he hit me. He said, I got a whole different look on this pew thing after doing some research. So maybe he'll jump on and want to discuss this. He want to discuss that thing. And I like having opposing sides sometimes so people can get different views. But when we start dealing with British Israelism, when we start dealing with Christianity in America, it has been a serious problem. And the church is in trouble in that sense. The church in America is in trouble because she has not answered concerning some of her sins dealing with race. Now, the thing that scares me is we're making this entire thing a black-white thing. More and more people, listen to me, Christians, y'all don't like coming by. Israelites were told not to come listen to me, but for some reason we had almost 500 people on last night. It's okay, y'all can come and listen. Nobody going to hell for listening, nobody going to hell for talking. More and more people are saying that Babylon is Christianity, period. That when we start talking about a falling away, that the falling away took place from the 2nd century once the apostles died. Once the church fathers came on the scene, that was the beginning of the falling away and the teaching of a different gospel. And people are being challenged on that. So that thing, coupled with race, has caused a mass exodus within Christianity. There are other things, but that thing has caused a mass exodus within Christianity. The Christmas tree ain't helping us. The Easter egg ain't helping us. I know people ignorant, people don't understand, but for some reason, this message is spreading and it's spreading on the internet. That coupled with police killings, a lot of people feel that Babylon system is this Christian system. It is this system of Americanized Christianity, or what people would call Westernized Christianity. Forget the fact that the whole denominations, like the Baptist Church, whole denominations were split with the North and the South. There were believers, there were Baptist believers in the North that did say, listen, you can't be clergy, you can't be a missionary, you can't be an evangelist and have slaves. When the whole South was like, of course you can. This is actually God's plan. It's a blessing to be a pastor and have slaves. This thing is biblical. And whole denominations split behind that. But because there were so many Europeans in the North that felt some way, and those in the South that felt different, like I said, denominations split. But today people aren't getting the whole pure history. People are saying all white people said all black people were beneath them and needed to be slaves. So because a narrative is being spun right now, and a lot of people aren't given the history, there's a lot of individuals that are against Christianity in general, or what we would call the movement of the way. So I got a few questions, Alton. Has Christianity been so labeled? True, I'm talking about true biblical Christianity. I ain't talking about that zoo. Have Christianity been so labeled that this thing can't get straightened out? All this stuff is because it is one of the reasons we need dialogue, we need discussion. But I'm scared that some people's ears are so closed because of police brutality, because of the white image of Jesus. Some people's ears are so closed, it's beyond. They're listening, but they don't hear you. They hear you, but they're not listening, should I say? And they can't even accept certain things. Let me see if I can. You would work, Alton. I said I was gonna bring some of this stuff up because I think that this is gonna be where some of these conversations need to go. History. People need to know the history of a lot of stuff. The real, I'm talking about the real history. A lot of people, they moving in their feelings. I don't think they know the real history of what we would call the Underground Railroad, the real history. That it was teams of blacks and whites working together. When we deal with this righteousness, it's been people of every nation, every color. That's something I wanted to bring up, Rabbi, on Professor Abrams. Professor Abraham, and when I bring him up, when he even talk about Israel, he's talking about Israel. He said Israel is no race. Israel is no one group. Israel got there's multiple looks to Israel in different lands that you go the world over. These are people that bind themselves to Torah, and there's many of them that believe that Christ was the Messiah. That's what this thing is. But I'm afraid that some of what we're seeing because of pure ignorance. And a lot of people claim that they're not moving with emotions. I'm dealing with the facts. You don't understand you're dealing with emotions because you're not looking at all the facts. And when certain things are presented to you, for some reason, you just talk right over it. You just look right over it. Are we so trained? And like I said, we doing this for a reason. Hold on, give me a second. Let me try to see if I can send my man that link. Check that link out right there. You might want to jump on for a second. Orthodox More, I'm not sure if I got your, I think I got you in the email. Type of one if I got you in the email. Let me try to go back. And now that's why I often tell people you can say what you want, but the whole Israelite movement is a viable option for many people that think the church is done. The church is Europeanized. I'm talking about every black church, every black denomination too. Because the black church is the black church because some white churches were acting and believing and teaching and preaching with scripture. Teaching and preaching a doctrine that's not Bible, because you can use scripture and preach doctrine that's not Bible. We've seen that. We've seen that on this channel right here. We've seen people preaching doctrine that's not biblical, but using the Bible at the same time. And people have done that. So now the job for the minister of the gospel, true gospel of Jesus Christ, the job of the true apologist of the Most High God is another level. the work that has to be done, the information that has to be given out, what has to be shared, the conversations that need to take place. No, you don't, Berean TV. All right, or hit me at BereanTeach@gmail.com. Even if you don't jump on now, at least I can have it for the so I can have it for the future. Because if I hit the first two letters in your name or whatever, it'll pop up in that thing. Y'all know I'm slow. I used to do it through the messenger. I don't know what's going on with that messenger. So now we got a problem. Now we need people that's trained, but the problem is we got people that think they know everything because they done seen 2 YouTube videos. Have they been looking in balance? When people say I've been doing my research, have they been doing their research I've been into doing this thing for 7 years. Have 7 years they just been clicking on videos and buying the books that they want? Have they been locked in something in what we would call an echo chamber? Me quoting my man, then my man quoting my man, and we quoting the same verses that we quote out of context. Mind you, because a lot of people don't know that what they're quoting is out of context, and a lot of people's quoting stuff that's out of context going against the whole book, the volume, the whole book, and make it and taking us to make-believe land and doing some other things. We got to look at that. Let me go there, because yesterday, I'm sorry, I tried to get on some of the comments, and I got to say that because of certain things that I was hearing, of course, I'm jumping all in. These two brothers supposed to be having a discussion. I'm jumping all in between the discussion, because I'm like, boy, oh boy, I'm scratching my head. But when we hear certain things, sometimes we react, and I'm like, wow. That's all I can keep saying was like, wow. But we have to look at the whole thing. We have to sit back and look at the whole thing. People are saying to come out of Babylon, and people are attempting to say that Christianity, biblical Christianity. Y'all hear me? There is a biblical Christianity. People are attempting to say that biblical Christianity is the Babylon that people need to come out of. And these are things that we've seen with the Mormon church. These are things that we've seen with Charles Taze Russell and Judge Rutherford, the second in command, and Jehovah's Witnesses, that the whole movement was wrong until my leader came. The whole movement was wrong until this interpretation came. And there are people that's attempting to say that the interpretation that has come down to us for thousands of years, I said thousands, for 2,000 years, the interpretation that's come down has been the wrong interpretation, and this here is the true interpretation, and they're presenting something different from us. Can that be true? Can the whole of God, in light of Bible now, I'm talking about Bible, this Bible right here. Well, I got it on my phone right here, my book in my knapsack. I got to take that with me. In light of what's happening, people are saying, forget the fact that Christ said, upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell. Forget the fact that Christ said that. The Lamb of God that taketh away the sins of. Forget that he said that. Folk are saying all of this stuff is wrong. Christ was right. The early disciples had it a little bit, but it got messed up and it went downhill. So now God is pouring out a new revelation. Now it's the same book, but we have a different spin on it. I got to put this guy on mute. I don't know if he in the truck. I don't know where he at. And now it's a whole different revelation, and we have to view these things this way. We're living in a dangerous time. Come on to the microphone out there. Let me try to look at these.
Hey, good morning. Good morning, Brian. Good morning to the rest of you guys in the chat. You know, man, you were on pretty early this morning, man. All I did was look at my phone, and I had a notification. I'm like, Ryan's on live. I'm like, maybe he testing out his equipment or something. But no, you getting in there early in the morning.
Listen. A lot of people saying that Christianity is Babylon. That should offend you. And many other people, Christianity is Babylon, and you got to come out of Christianity.
Yeah, it's and I think what it is, just like you said, it's a lot of people searching stuff up on YouTube, because I ain't even gonna lie. There was one time to where I was starting to believe that before I really got very deep into the faith, and people was talking about Christianity is the new Babylon and X, Y, and Z. But once you start to search out what's really going on, you know, especially if you look at like the Roman Catholic Church and all of these folks back in those days, then you have to ask yourself, then why was there why do we have to have a reformation? You know, why were there people dying in the name of Christianity? You know what I'm saying? To get away from the Roman Catholic system. You see what I'm saying? So those reformers, those people who was trying to give people the book, because you got to remember, before King James and Martin Luther and all of those guys, it was illegal. And actually, during the time of Martin Luther, the Bible was illegal to have translated into any other language besides Latin. So if you had an English translated Bible, you were, you would have gone to jail, or you would have even been
You're like
killed.
a drug dealer smuggling dope.
Exactly.
Smuggling, yeah.
So then we have to start asking ourselves the question, what was the purpose of the 95 Thesis? You know what I'm saying? What was that? Why was that significant? You know what I'm saying? So when you really start to look into this stuff, you'll start getting another side of Christianity, of the history that you never really known about. And then you have to ask yourselves the question, what was happening and why were these things happening, and who were these people who was representing this form of Christianity, instead of just being like, oh, well, I just hate that old reform movement because, this person over here, I don't really like them. So therefore the whole movement is bad. We have to throw out the baby with the bathwater. So,
but part of the problem is, though, now this is where people get offended with me, because I say that we with these younger people, with this generation, with these Google scholars, we got to bring out the good, the bad, and the ugly. We have to admit that somewhere, sometime. Mm-hmm. Of course, everybody going to run. And I start saying something that other elements crept in, non-biblical elements crept into the tradition that has been called Christianity. Oh, everybody going to run to Constantine. Everybody going to run to the first century. But you can't admit, Alton, that something changed from the time of the apostles. Centuries later. We're not going to point right to the 4th century, Nazi and all that, but something changed somewhere, and certain traditions came in that was not part of the primitive faith in the beginning.
Yeah, exactly. Like, even when you look at Lutheranism, right, or you look at Martin Luther didn't just walk away totally from the Catholic Church. I mean,
no, because Luther, them folk look Catholic right now to me.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, they was just like, yeah, we're gonna put these 95 Theses up, but these robes is looking kind of flat. We're gonna keep these robes, and we're gonna keep these beads, and we what I'm saying, that we gonna keep some of these traditional things. But I think that overall, and it's not just one group of people, I think that it's pretty common in the Christian church too, is that we want a tradition, you know what I'm saying? And there is just some things that we want to be able to hold and keep traditionally, and try to fuse that in with scripture. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, we've all been guilty of it. At one point.
You can see the screen?
So Christianity got watered down. Yeah, I totally agree. And I mean, you got to think, over 2,000 years, there is a lot of room and a lot of time for some stuff to be added to Christianity. So that's just the way I look at it. And just like you say, and I love this platform because you challenge all of us to question what we've been taught, whether you're Israel or whether you're Christian, and you've pulled out all the stops and said, man, we got to start questioning some of this stuff, because this affects people's lives and this affects people's eternities, believe it or not. So this isn't just, the way I do things versus the way that you do things. It's like, no, we really have to go back to them scriptures and figure out what's in there and what's not. And then we have to be real. Once we learn what is not of God, then we have to throw that out, and we have to stick to scripture. And
we have to remember that scripture says it's going to be a falling away. We know that Satan will come like an angel of light. We know the last day deception is going to be connected to politics, but it's going to be mainly religion.
Yeah.
So everybody's using and attempting to use their politics, their racial beliefs, and everything based on religion, based on the Bible. Oh, what's a bunch of Bible thumpers in America?
Oh, yeah.
There was Bible thumpers that stormed the Capitol. These Bible thumpers out here believe one thing. These false prophets have been leading them out. False prophets prophesying, saying God told them who's going to be the president. God told them what's going to be mystical visions, mystical experiences, and all of this is cumulated into what we see right now. Yeah. But the thing that's scaring me is if Christ said that upon this rock I'm going to build my church, and Israel already existed, he was doing something that even Israel was new to Israel. Because Israel already existed thousands of years when he made that statement, upon this rock, I'm going to build my church. So he had to been doing a new thing. But the thing that is scaring me, because people don't want to let go of traditions and practices that are clearly not biblical, could they be causing people to stumble? Could they be causing people to walk away? Could the enemy be using certain things, the European image of Jesus? Could he be using slavery and people hurting, police brutality, to turn people against the one saving thing? The church is the ark in this last day, the true church. Because even when you use that word church and people get people get tense. People start feeling some type of way and they're ready to come fight. But could it be that the enemy is telling people to walk away from the true thing, come out of Babylon, the true thing that's here to keep the people, that's here to protect the people? Or Elton, is Christianity Babylon?
I don't think Christianity is, excuse me, I don't think Christianity is Babylon. My personal view, and I'm not well versed on eschatology, but I believe that the Babylonian system is not a specific country or a specific nation. I think that it's a mindset.
Amen.
And I believe that the whole Babylonian concept is going to affect the world, because I keep up with Christianity in all different. I keep up with Christianity in all different types of the world, and trust me, there's persecution going on in just about every country. And Charles is saying that religion is Babylon. So because you got to remember, during the time of Daniel, when they had went into captivity in Babylon, remember, everything was all good as long as you recognize that the God that the Babylonians were serving. Like, you can worship your God, you can keep your God, you can pray to as many gods as you want, but as long as you understood whose God that they were serving, that they were worshiping, then it was okay. But you got to remember Daniel and the 3 Hebrew boys, they were just like, nope, there's only one God and we only going to serve him alone. They wouldn't even eat with these guys. You know what I'm saying? They was just like, listen, let us go so we can go out and eat our own food, because y'all done sacrificed all of these, all of this food to these gods and all that stuff, and we ain't even going to touch it.
You don't think that this could be the problem, though? Because we've seen it in Rome too. They didn't mind Rome. So many people could come under one umbrella in Rome because they let everybody get it on with their gods. So It seems like later on, when the dominant religion became Christianity, a lot of people ain't want to give up their gods. So somebody within the Christian church with authority said, listen, let's just keep the circus going. Let's keep everybody come on over here and bring your gods too. So there's elements of their gods. Are there elements of Zoroastrianism? Is there elements of the Egyptian Cometicism? Are the elements of that have been brought in and Christianized or cleaned up, but it wasn't really original, and there was a people fighting, say, we don't want nothing. That ain't the book. And it seems to be like, to many people, this is the war right here. We don't want those elements of that here with this. This is part of the same thing we've seen in Rome and we've seen in Babylon. Come on.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And I know that people hate the term Christian, but number one, it's in the Bible, because you got to remember when Paul and Barnabas, they went over there to Antioch, they started calling them Christians. So, of course, this had to be something totally different than what was already being taught, before Christ, because people could say, well, they were Israelites, but their ideologies were certainly different, because these people called them Christians. You see what I'm saying?
And people that know to the Bible, they're not arguing that, but they're saying the Christianity of today. The thing that we're hearing over and over again on the internet is mainstream, what we're hearing today. And you, of all people, you've been 4 years on the zoo. What that other video, and then you got peeps on it. Oh man, you got Bernard, you got them folk from around the way on there, and you have acknowledged.
Yeah.
You have acknowledged that there is some madness out here in the name of Christianity.
I'm going to tell you like this. There's like 4 or 5 videos y'all ain't even seen yet that started gaining some traction, but YouTube blocked it because, and they blocked them because y'all think that, listen, a lot of these people are in bed with each other. You know what I'm saying? Straight up. So they'll flag your video. They'll they'll copyright strike your channel because they'll say that you're infringing on their copyrights and all of that stuff. Like I got some videos out there that brings up some really heavy stuff, and they already done struck my channel twice, and and they've threatened to take my channel down. So that's why I'm just like, maybe I need to go ahead and start me a Patreon and put some of those videos over there, but I haven't done it yet. But yeah, man, I mean, I got some videos about like Bernard Jordan and these guys out here dancing around and telling folks that, believe in me and calling
and you can say what you want. Folk strong out here. Folk moving like I didn't want to. Somebody, I think that was Mr. Blacktastic. It was like, listen, get into that whole Prince Hall thing. You can say what you want. Secret society, secret esoteric groups. A lot of preachers within the church have been moving. Those that weren't even Prince Hall. Plenty of them have been Prince Hall Freemasons. Plenty of them have been involved in secret societies. But within the church, the bishops and them are strong, moving underground. They strong. They got we talking about the Black Pope and all of that stuff, and the Jesuit orders want to fight Protestant movement and the secret order within the Catholic Church. Protestant pastors, it's been a secret order. Oh, don't get it twisted. And they powerful and they moving strong. Most pastors I know, a good bit of pastors that I know, they talking about armor bearer. This is armed security. Some people just got straight thugs. We're gonna thug this thing out in the name of this denomination and how we moving, and anybody moving any different way, it's gonna be problems.
Man, I'm gonna tell you like this. I think and this is around the time before I got saved, like just before that. Man, I told you I went to Eddie Long's church one day over here in Atlanta, and I'm talking about, dude, it is, I mean, man, it's like a whole nother nation up in there.
It's like a whole nother nation. I can't remember. You can say what you want. Eddie Long, before he died, now he's one of the #1 dudes in this country. That honorarium, you come to speak there, that check that he cut is on another level. Man, they getting rap money in there when they touch that microphone. So money is connected. It's dangerous. And when you start getting out here and talking about the money and stuff, you could get yourself. It's just. Dude, go ahead, man.
I can't remember why we were there. Because I only been there a couple of times. It wasn't my church, but this one particular day, I forgot why I was there, and they had this show and all of these, women and out there praise dancing and doing that. So when they got ready to collect the money, and I said this in my video, you know what I'm saying, that my most popular video, they had buckets. When I say they had buckets of money, man, it must have been about 5 or 6 cops that was guarding all of the people that was picking up the money. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about armed cops with guns and all of that, badges and all of that, picking up these buckets full of money. And this wasn't even a Sunday service.
When Creflo and all of them come, they usually have the armored truck to take the bread. That just comes with the territory. That just comes with the territory, the size of the offering. That's just, security. Yeah. They've been doing that from the 90s. I remember,
Eddie Long, even in that church, New Birth had a chart up of what you was giving an example of what you were supposed to pay. So it was like, if you made $10, then you need to give $1. If you made 1,000, you need to give 100. And I mean, they had the chart up letting you know, like, hey, this is what you're supposed to be paying. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, it was serious. They had their own police cars, man. They had their own police cars with the flashing lights, with the purple and white lights. I'm talking about, it was serious.
These are corporations. They run like corporations. A lot of these pastors moving like CEOs. But so a lot of people feel that God wouldn't want that. Jesus wouldn't want that. That's a whole nother thing, because I think Peter and them preached that was a mega church, and 3,000 were added that day. Boy, folk wish 3,000 to come to their church, let alone get saved that one day alone. So the church grew, and I believe in the mega church, but there's something that turned somewhere, and it's like, because of so many racist things that came up, European images that came up, people are against the whole entire movement right now, and people are saying the whole movement is demonic. And and the hurtful thing is, if it wasn't for the church, I'm talking about black folk now, you black folk. Yeah. Black, if it wasn't for the church, a lot of the freedoms, a lot of the things that you're enjoying, if it wasn't for Christian trained leaders like Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, say what you want. A lot of these folk out here be arguing he ain't saved, critical race theory, this and that, but he did a lot of things that some of these good European Christians didn't want to accept. So he had to fight. Harriet Tubman and them had to fight. Underground Railroad had to take place. And now, because all these things have taken place, a lot of people feel, listen, they done went, the church done went and blended, the church done went and got influenced for whatever reason. The church don't fight for certain things. It's not biblical to talk about injustices. Jesus would just leave it alone, just leave things alone. Usually molesters just don't stop out of the kindness of their heart.
Right.
So somebody got to get out here and somebody got to speak against it. But now they're saying that that's not, that's liberation theology. That's critical race theory. So you can't even speak again in a country that could vote, that's established on voting and speaking and people getting their rights. We as believers can't even speak for our rights and say that's wrong and this is wrong, because there's other quote unquote good Christians that's in the dominant class and they're saying, oh, it's wrong. That's not true Christianity. What y'all are doing, focus on true Christianity. We got a problem. We're going to act like we ain't got no problem, but we got a problem. And now we got cults that's moving out here. We got cults that's pointing out our errors and telling people them folk ain't right and exact. And my thing is, when the enemy make a good point, what do we do, Alex? And when the enemy make a good point, of course, a lot of Christians, a lot of pastors, a lot of teachers out here look like they're defending nonsense, look like they're defending supremacy.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a lot of that going on, and it kind of reminds me of the time where I think it was Elisha, when he was crying out to God, and he was just like, God, it seems like I'm the only one left. It seems like I'm the only one out here with this truth. And God was like, not so. He says, I, reserve 7,000, of good faithful men who haven't bowed the knee to Baal. So, you know what I'm saying? So I think that sometimes we do feel like that there's only maybe just a few of us, but I think that God does have a remnant, you know what I'm saying? That we don't, that we're not really aware of. Because of course the media is only going to allow certain things to be put out. Like, for instance, they'll go out there and they'll let a lot of these Hebrew Israelites on the corners, these camp members out here yelling and screaming, talking about, that they're going to be killing, white folks and enslaving white folks. See, they'll let them stand on the corners. But I just had a brother who was in New York, you know what I'm saying, preaching the gospel, and he just got arrested for preaching the gospel, not even preaching anything remotely to those camps. But those same camps is out there in New York saying, they've been saying the same old thing, like Tahar and all of those guys at GMS talking about something that they're gonna, be marrying 12-year-old little girls and all of that stuff. But see, they'll let them stay on the street. And
why do you think that is?
One thing about Satan, man, Satan ain't gonna persecute his own. I mean, that's just being real. So Satan is not going to tear down someone that's following him until he don't need him anymore. So of course the cops is in on it, the government is in on it. And I think that to a certain degree, I think that some people actually want to see black folks out there being like that. So they let it ride. But you get out there and you start getting out there and you start telling truth and you start liberating some folk. Oh yeah, that's hate speech. You can't speak against the Muslims, you can't speak against the LGBTQ community, which is destroying the black community. You can't speak against abortion, which is another thing that's destroying the black community. So I believe that it's all one spirit. You know what I mean? And stuff like this, dialogue like this, the enemy doesn't like. You know what I'm saying? So therefore, there's going to be an effort to get channels and dialogue like this shut down. And I believe that sometimes Satan will throw a few folks out there that'll stir some mess up just to kind of distract us off of what we need to be focusing on, which is Christ. You know what I'm saying?
I think for some reason the crazy thing is, and I was praying, I'm like, Lord, you got to show me how we got to move forward with this thing, because to have head knowledge and to even have Bible knowledge. Yeah. Y'all hear me good in here. Even to have Bible knowledge don't mean you have spiritual discernment. Grandmom and them had discernment. They could tell me like, that music ain't right. Somebody just brought up the music and they were like, something ain't right here. But I think because of a lack of discernment or just trying to get numbers up in church or whatever, a lot of people started just letting anything in. Some people just want to try stuff here and there, want to be up on the times. But I think for some reason, some people have I think it's slowly turned. This just didn't happen like this, but it's slowly turned, and the enemy will put something out there, like they'll give us on media. They'll show us a little two men hugging right here. Then you'll start seeing full-blown things that the country didn't accept 60 years ago. We'll just start seeing this. These people slowly, they'll try you with some stuff. They're like a molester. They'll try somebody. They'll touch you in a certain way. They'll try you. They don't full come out and molest you like that. They'll try you slowly. Yeah. And this is how the enemy work. You'll try God's people slowly, and slowly people have been just accepting stuff or getting used to it. And when you start getting used to it, they'll start spinning it in our minds like this is the norm. This is what it is.
Right. And actually, man, me and my family, like my wife and my girls and stuff, we was just talking about this last night. Because they was watching a new Voltron cartoon a few years ago, and at the end of the season, they put like a homosexual scene in there where one of the guys, who was who had the black lion, he ended up having a homosexual relationship. You know what I'm saying? Showing him getting married to another man. And this is a cartoon we're talking about. You know what I'm saying? We was telling them about that, like. Over time, they sit back and they slip a little something and they keep, pushing and pushing and pushing until they turn around and they got you. It's just like, I know some dudes that I've talked to who are in prison, you probably can attest to this too, is that, when you get in there, some of these dudes gonna act like that they're your friend. Yo, let me show you how things work. You know what I'm saying? Yo, you want some snacks? Yo, you want this? You want that?
That's
yo, you
exactly lining you up all the time.
Right. So they lining you up. So therefore, when they really need something, they're gonna bring that up. Hey man, I need you to go ahead and do this and do that for me. And you, oh nah, man, I ain't cool with that. I ain't down with that. Well, you remember that time when you first got in, I showed you around. Remember them zooms and them whams I don't hook you up with? You know what I'm saying? Now it's time to collect. And a lot of these times, these guys don't want to hear that. So that's the way the government is moving. You know what I'm saying? And I believe that that's the way false teaching is moving too. You know what I'm saying? They get you in and they get you all riled up and primed up, and then they turn around. And by the time you look up, man, it's already too late. You're already in knee deep.
You're already in knee deep. And let's see what Keith Jordan said. And the small hats run all of that. Media, Hollywood, and academia are the belly of the beast. I don't think we know that a lot of people are being influenced as grown folk. We think peer pressure and stuff is just kids. But grown folk, preachers, elders, all type of people are influenced by what's around them. You'll start going, listen, everybody else is doing it. This seems to be the new thing, and we'll slowly start accepting it. More and more people slowly start accepting it, and that's how the enemy do. He'll start slowly chipping away at doctrine. He'll start slowly chipping away at your conscience. So later on, the Rick says, having their conscience seared, it's nothing to them to say some of the stuff that they're saying, to do some of the stuff that it's nothing for them to do that, because they slowly been used to it, and then it's become part of, this tradition. This is the way we do it. And now we're making the word of God of none effect. So because we have people that's fighting against it, attempting to stand on the word and say, no, this is how it is. This is A, B, C, and D. Other people are saying, no, that's hate speech right now. No, you're wrong. This ain't what it's like. This is the new generation. Or like many of you people out here saying, this is progressive. This is progressive. We moving on. We don't believe in that other stuff back in the days, but we're still Christians, but this is just progressive Christianity. Other people like, let's abandon that word altogether. Let's go back to some ancient words that were in the book. But going back and calling yourself some of the ancient words that are in the book, are you going against the doctrines of Christ? Mm-hmm. The enemy is slick. We're gonna have to pick this up later on. Let me get out of here. I'm definitely closer to the job, so I can ride till 8 o'clock, but I'm going to get me some coffee.
Yeah.
Well, grace and peace, Elder. Come on, grace and peace on Minister E. I see you on Pastor Lighty. Go ahead. Come on, Alton.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say this because I got to get out of here in like the next 5 minutes too.
Yeah, me too.
But yeah, I mean, I remember when I was a kid, and I remember when the whole charismatic movement thing was starting to become a thing, and we're talking about late 80s, early 90s. We're talking about Oral Roberts, who had Carlton Pearson and T.D. Jakes up under his wing. Like, they were a part of like this really big conglomerate, you know what I'm saying? And they started preaching that whole prosperity gospel. And I remember folks being in the church, even my mom was caught up in it at a point. She was like, our church is a little too traditional, and they want to talk about divorce, and and they talking about church discipline and all of that. And
you got to name it and claim it. You got to speak that thing into existence. Money cometh to me now. They buying jets. Everybody getting rich. Regular Ponzi scheme, regular scam. The leaders of the bosses and the movers. And say, look what he got. He got that because he done ran y'all with 4, 5, 6, 10 offerings, and that's how he got that. And y'all busy naming and claiming and laying hands on cars, and then they start giving people cars 2 or 3 months later. They hiding the cars behind their mom in them house, taking the
me and my wife, we was just talking about that because we was talking about the whole Brian Carn thing, and she was just like, well, how do some of these guys know these check numbers and stuff like that? And I said, man, it's a scam. I said, what these dudes do is that they'll go to the pastor, guys like Brian Carn who come and visit. They'll say, Prophet Brian Carn is coming, so he'll come to the pastor. He already done hit the pastor and said, hey, who in this church be giving the most? Oh, it's sister such and such. Oh, okay. Does she write checks? Yeah, she write checks. Okay, cool. What's the last check number that she wrote? Oh, it was 256. So when he go out there, he start doing his thing. Anybody that got check number 260, I want you to pull that check number out, because he already know the last check that she wrote was check number 256. So he know that she got to have check number 260. I want you to take that out, write the church a $5,000 check right now. And she thinking that this man prophesying, not knowing that this man already done got the scoop on her. Pastor already done told her, she got a son that's in jail, and
they've been working together. Even back in the days with Morris Cirillo and them, they were on top of technology. They had earpieces back in the days, and people online in the back fill out your prayer request. Oh, your son is sick, your mother dying of cancer. He in the front here that he said, whose mother is this section? In this section, they're sick. They're in the hospital, and they've been using technology. Now they're on Facebook. They're pulling people. Peter Pop, all of them dudes. It was and then to be honest, Elder Johnson, a few pastors, the people that saw it and the people that spoke against it, they were like, "Oh, you're just jealous of his ministry. That's the man of God." Now you got people paying their mortgage to go fly out to be healed, fly out to get a prosper, to get a blessing, fly out to get their hands laid on them, and not paying their own mortgage now. Going against the wisdom that's in the text. Oh, it's a whole bunch of badness. All right, man, we're gonna try to jump on later on. I'm gonna get up off of here right now, y'all. But I just wanted to get on here and share some of this stuff. It's a lot going on. We got to be careful. We got to make sure we're staying in the ark of safety, and we got to pray in this hour just for God to pour out a spirit of discernment on us. That's my prayer for y'all. All right, y'all. God bless everybody. Have a good day. All right, Alfred, we'll talk later, brother.
All right.